Well, it is 11:30, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I will go ahead and get started. My name is Elise Stokes. I'm a doctoral program manager here at the Kent School of Social Work and Family Science. And so I work with our PhD in social work students, and I also work with our DSW students, which this is the information session that you're here for, is the DSW. So just to be clear. Um, so really quickly, and I don't know if any of you all want to share or if you feel comfortable just putting it in the chat, what's kind of brought you to this information session today, maybe what you're looking for, or if you have kind of career pivot that you want to make. If you want to go ahead and just pop that in the chat, that's totally fine, but it's just a way that we can kind of get to know you all. And then as I move through this presentation, I try to be thorough, but at the end, we're going to reserve a lot of time for you all to ask some questions as well. So kind of getting started, this is our team. So myself, and then there's an interim DSW program director, Dr. Heather Storr. She also teaches in the PhD program as well. So we try and move our faculty everywhere because we love them so much and they're so great and they have such a wide breadth of experience. And then we also have some other faculty teaching within the program as well. I kind of post this up too because we tend to get some alumni that come. And so maybe you see some familiar faces, or maybe you're in the community and you've worked with some of these folks. But if not, and you end up doing the online program with us, you'll definitely get to know these folks very well. And so we do have some additional affiliated faculty. So these faculty members here, they don't teach within the program as of yet, or they may be ready to teach in the future, but they are currently our capstone chairs. So you'll see some faculty members transition into that role as well. And we also have had the luxury of having some part-time faculty with us that are previous graduates. So I just wanted to kind of highlight them. They don't have their official headshots up yet, but I just wanted to at least acknowledge them because maybe some of you all know who they are or have been encouraged to come because you happen to be colleagues of one of them or something. So quick program snapshot. This program, we have an annual deadline of March 15th. So March 15th, we kind of know who's coming in or who's not as far as like applications are coming. So that's when we start reviewing folks. We don't really make offers by that time frame, but it usually moves pretty fast after that. So March 15th is the deadline. A lot of times we get applicants that turn their materials in a lot sooner, and so we do go ahead and review in a timely manner if we can, but we just don't make offers any earlier until the rest of the pool is available. Our program is focused on leadership development and teaching. So I know some DSW programs are more clinically focused, so we like to mention this in case that might not be the fit that you're looking for. If you're someone who can see yourself kind of moving in that leadership, management, and teaching direction, then our program may be a better fit for you. The program is also 8 continuous semesters. So what I mean by that is it's fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. Sometimes that does get extended. It kind of just depends on the individual, because sometimes things in life happen and we try and be extremely supportive when that time comes. But occasionally time extensions do happen. I would say for this program is very rare. Most of our students do a great job of trying to like do their best, have a great support from faculty, and they kind of make it through in that sort of 2+ year time frame. Some of the program highlights, 8 continuous semesters, which I mentioned. We do have a culminating project at the very end. You may have had like a master's thesis or something similar. The culminating project for the DSW program is a capstone project. You do have your final year, kind of similar in some capacity how PhDs have 2 years at the end to work on their dissertation. In this program, you have your 3rd year to work on your capstone project. The program is completely online, so you do not have to have residency in Louisville, Kentucky. You do not have to come to Louisville, Kentucky. But when you graduate, we do hope that you come to Louisville, Kentucky, just to kind of see our campus, meet us if you would like to, and then participate in that ceremony, and we try and have a celebratory reception or something of the like for our students, because we know it's a long journey, and it's a big commitment. So all that to be said. Now, some program outcomes that we have. So lifelong learning, trauma-informed and anti-oppressive practices. These are things that you're probably already very familiar with in your current practice that you're doing. So this program is going to advance some of those skills, enhance some of those skills, and provide you with some new ones to apply to your current role or position, or maybe you're trying to pivot to another role or position. And so this is a a program that focuses to develop scholar practitioners as opposed to a PhD program that focuses on developing research scholars. So just kind of a little bit of the differences there in the programs. The other thing I want to mention, although the program is 100% online, occasionally your faculty members, so your instructors that you have in each term, they will schedule meetings with your class. So this is typically 2 times per 8-week term. And I do want to mention we go in terms, but I will showcase another slide that has kind of the layout of what that curriculum looks like, so you can see kind of what you would be looking forward to in each term and in each semester overall. Some program goals here. I will not read all of this to you because I do not want to insult anyone's intelligence. But you're going to see the repeating words of leadership and teaching. So that's going to be very thorough throughout this program. That's what you're going to be focused on. That's going to be applicable to a lot of your classes. You're going to receive a lot of supplemental materials and professional development opportunities centered around that, and specifically, around ethics, practices of social service and leadership. All of those things are going to be kind of culminating as you are in each class. So you can kind of see that development for yourself in the curriculum, but also outside of it when you are in your workplace. So this is the degree map I was mentioning just a few seconds ago. So you can see here in the fall semester, you can see that you have 2 classes. So each class is 8 weeks long. So it is a little accelerated. So just kind of keep that in mind when you decide to come in and you're looking for this transition of how you're going to pace yourself for these classes. So you take 1 class at a time. So in that first term, 8 weeks, you'll take this 700 course that you see here. And then that next 8 weeks, you'll take this 701 course that you see here. And it kind of is like that throughout your very first semester. And you can also see summer right here. I will mention summer is even more accelerated. So this 704 class is 6 weeks long, and then the 710 class is also 6 weeks long. So summer is just naturally more accelerated, and I think that's very common in higher education for summer just to be a little bit faster paced, but just keeping that in mind again. For your second year, so you see here the fall and spring, you'll notice that you'll have a practicum class with it. And I did neglect to break out this practicum course here. So where this says 4 credit hours, we've actually broken out the practicum into its own 1 credit hour course. So the practicum class will actually touch on in a little bit in more depth. But that class will be throughout your entire semester, so throughout the entire 16 weeks. However, the course 706 and 707, you're only taking that 8 weeks at a time. So the practicum will be for the duration of both of those courses, but these 2 classes in particular, just the actual coursework will be 8 weeks at a time. So hopefully this doesn't look too confusing. Also, this fall semester focuses on leadership specifically, and then in the spring semester, the focus is on teaching. Now, you'll have the exact same setup from that previous fall semester, so you'll take 2 coursework classes 8 weeks at a time, and then you'll have an accompanying teaching practicum to go with it throughout the semester. That second summer, this is where you're going to have 1 course for 12 weeks. This is our integrative seminar and qualifying assessment. So this is where you're doing your capstone proposal. You're going to do a little bit of light research with it, and you're also going to have a qualifying assessment, or some people call it a comprehensive exam. So that'll take place in that particular semester. Once students pass their qualifying assessment, then they become a candidate, and then they will be working toward their capstone project. And so then you see in this final year that capstone project is there. In addition to the curriculum, we also have experiential learning opportunities. So this is where I'm going to lightly pause because I know we mentioned the teaching and leadership practicum, but I didn't go in great depth. So I'm going to invite Dr. Shawnice Miller to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Elise, and thank you all for being here. I've been in the chat, so I've been able to chat with some of you all who've introduced yourselves and shared what you were hoping to gain by attending this session. So I am here to talk about the practicum experience. And the way I try to prepare students, DSW students, as they're transitioning from year 1 and coming into year 2, the way I try to help them conceptualize this is now we're at the stage where I am trying to help you develop yourself as a practitioner scholar, as an independent thinker, an independent intellectual. And with that, we're no longer having a lot of group discussions that you'll see happening during year one. But right now in year two, we're going to be focusing on what is your interest and how can I support you in that? Because we're preparing for year three when you're doing your capstone. And again, that's when you're doing that independent, coming to identify yourself as an intellectual and what that looks like. So year two is really prepping you for that. So to tell you a little bit more about year two, you will work with me, and I like to see myself as a mentor. Not just your instructor, but a mentor, but you will also have the opportunity to have a professional mentor. Oh, I'm sorry, Tiffany. I don't know if you know that you're okay. So thank you. So you will also have the opportunity to work with a professional mentor um, to help you, for instance, in leadership. I have working with a cohort of students now. They're taking their leadership courses, as Elise explained, 2 8-week courses. Right now, they're in the first 8 weeks. So they're working with me as their instructor, but then they also have a professional mentor of their own choosing. And so what we try to encourage students to do is think about what are some leadership skills that you want to develop. Is there someone that you look at and just really admire how they are as a leader? And you think, I want to be like them. I want them to show me some of that secret sauce they have as a leader. And so we really encourage that. So you will find someone, whether that's in your agency or somewhere within your community, that is willing to mentor you as you are in your leadership courses and practicum. So the word practicum is loaded. All of you probably have your MSW degree. And so you think of practicum in the sense of, I have to be in a set place from 9 to 5 on every Tuesday. That's not what this is. So, I hope you don't think about that practicum in this sense. We like to think of it as more of a mentorship opportunity, but the word practicum is there. But you're not banking any hours. What we encourage is for you to work with just have a check-in with your mentor weekly, because you will be working on a culminating project. And so, just talk to your mentor, ask them for advice, ask them for some guidance. But again, you'll be working a lot with me as your instructor as well. So that's what the leadership component looks like. That's in the fall. The culminating assignment is a leadership impact portfolio. And what goes into that portfolio is, for instance, students right now are finishing up their leadership philosophy statement. But that statement essentially is defining themselves as a leader. What is their identity? So that's one thing that they will include in there. Branding is a huge thing now. So as a U of L student, you have access to LinkedIn Learning for free. You have access to all of these other free resources like Adobe Creative that allows for you to develop your skills in leadership or um, practice different technologies and different formats of building web pages, whatever, however you want to build your brand. But I ask for them to also just have, what people used to call an elevator speech. Like if you stuck in an elevator with someone and you're trying to sell yourself and you got like 60 seconds or less, what would you say about yourself? So just a clear, concise statement about yourself. That's something else that's in the portfolio, as well as their projects. So what they're working on in their practicum with their mentor is essentially a organizational leadership project. And so the final product of that will also be in their portfolio. Before I open it up for questions, one thing I want to say is one thing for me that is very important is that everything that you do have meaning, and you're not doing work for the sake of doing work, and not just doing busy work, but there's meaning to this. And so my hope is that by the time you're finished with your leadership practicum and courses, you have a polished, finished product to where if you were to go and ask for a promotion, you have a statement of who you are as a leader. You have evidence of what you can do as a leader, and that will be your project. So I think it's very important that everything's relevant and have meaning. And the feedback that I've been receiving from students, trust me when I say they've been using these documents that they are creating in real time and actually been able to apply for things. Some of them are, and I'll talk about teaching in a second, but some of them are really applying for positions and getting positions based on the materials that are required of them. It helps them during the application process. But I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions about leadership before I transition into teaching. Okay. Oh, was someone, I'm sorry, was someone going to say something? Okay. Well, so the teaching courses in the teaching practicum is also year 2, and that is in the spring semester. So I usually work with the students around October to identify if they want to teach within the Kent School or if they want to teach at a university they may already work at or a university in their community. I'm happy to support any which way you want to do this because I totally understand if you live in a community that's not in the state of Kentucky or not in Louisville and you want to teach in person and someone is willing to co-teach with you, then absolutely, I want to support that. However, if that's not the case, we have our Kent School BSW and MSSW courses where our faculty is prepared to mentor you as your teaching mentor. And what that means is essentially co-teach. You will co-teach one of our courses in the spring semester. And the way that I structure that, again, you'll have 2 8-week courses, but everything we're doing in the courses is supplementing what you're doing in the practicum. So I'll be working with you, showing you how to use different technologies, if that's something that might benefit you in your teaching practicum. We will go over how you grade, how do you use rubrics, how do you construct rubrics. So everything is going to be relevant and connected to what you're doing in the classroom. And the final product of that also is going to be a teaching practicum. I'm sorry, a teaching portfolio. In that portfolio, there is a teaching philosophy statement. There is a kind of essentially a lesson plan that you developed or a lesson, other things that's related to teaching. And I really want to highlight here that the students in the spring semester are really doing some great things. I told them in the beginning, my goal is that by the time you finish this teaching practicum, I want you to be able to go apply for adjunct position or, go on the market and apply for a full-time faculty position. And that is essentially what's happening. One student was able to use the pieces of their portfolio to apply for a part-time faculty position. They started at another university this past summer. We had 2 students that used their portfolio apply to be part-time faculty at the Kent School. So this year they're teaching a class within the Kent School. I'm working with a student now that is in year 3, and she's applying for a tenure track position at a university. And so she's using her teaching portfolio. However, we're still meeting because she's telling me, she shared with me what are some of the things that they're looking for. So we're making adjustments so she can speak to what specifically they're looking for. But a lot of the work, the heavy lifting is done in their position to apply for these positions because of all the work that they've done, building up their skills And it's one thing to build up your skills, but to be able to document and show proof that this is what I can do, that's what we're doing during year 2. Again, we're making everything relevant and preparing you for the next step. Now, is there any questions about the teaching practicum?
We did have one in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
oh,
once
no.
I start talking, I'm never
Oh,
good about looking at the chat and talking, but if I'm
we're
not talking, I can do it. So
no,
thank you,
no, no.
Elise.
We're here to tag team. I couldn't answer in the chat when I was going, so thank you for that. So Tiffany, she asked the question, if we are actively teaching a BSW or MSW courses, can we use our employment for both practicums?
So when it comes to the teaching component, and if I understand the question correctly, Tiffany, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can say this. We have a couple of students, DSW students, that are already full-time faculty at different universities, and they're coming to get their DSW degree. So in those situations, what I tell those students, please use your class that you're already teaching, and I'll support you in that. But I'm not going to tack on another course within the Kent School when you're already getting the teaching experience because you have your own class. So if that's what the question is, I would definitely encourage you to teach whatever class you have, and then we would take the steps for you to fulfill the assignments and all of that. What I did in the past, I served as that person's mentor. So we met weekly. We just went over different things that a mentor typically would do. But yes, that student fulfilled that requirement in their own teaching position at their own university. Now, when it comes to leadership, when you said both practicums, I'm not sure I quite see the translation when it comes to leadership. So if you don't mind giving me a little bit more of what your thoughts were.
Well, I was just thinking, just in terms of working with, department or college leadership, in terms of, taking on something in that sense, versus having to go outside the university, because I'm full-time faculty at this point.
Okay.
So thinking in terms of working in that scope.
Absolutely. So again, we encourage students to use your own agency, organization, or in your situation, university, to fulfill these requirements of you. And so I actually have those same students that you're same situation that you're in, where they working at a university, they want to use their university. I want them to use their university. So in the leadership component, what they're doing is either their mentor is either the chair of their department, or someone else who has some type of leadership skills that they actually aspire to have. It could be something like, okay, I want to develop in marketing, so therefore they might be working with someone who can help them develop in that's what their focus is on, developing their skills in marketing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the questions. Are there any other? Okay. Well, if there are not, I will turn it back over to Elise and allow for her to continue.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. So the last little part here on this slide is in regard to the capstone project. So I kind of mentioned, as you're moving through this journey, towards the end, you'll have a culminating assignment. This is your capstone project, an original evidence-informed project. There will be data collection involved, or you can use secondary data. It's designed to inform future practice and/or teaching and learning. So as far as coming up with a topic, I mean, you may already have one coming into the program, but if you don't, you'll certainly develop one over time. And it really is up to you and your passions, maybe some of your professional experience. So for example, we had one student who wanted to focus on any barriers that were preventing like Black case managers from completing their LCSWs, like what were the barriers causing for that, or low exam scores or what have you. We had another person who did the focus on the healthcare environment that she was in and developing tools for medical case managers or medical social workers. Another person was a veteran and he did his capstone over developing more resources for mental health and behavioral health, kind of those advocacy pieces. So it kind of depends on you. There's really no limit or a defined topic already for you coming into the program. We want you to focus on something that you're passionate about, and kind of move in that direction. So once you have kind of your conceptualization of what your capstone project will be about, there are two components to it. So there is a large paper that you will do, and then there's also an oral presentation. So you will essentially be defending your research and your findings that you've done, and kind of presenting that to your capstone committee. Your committee will also consist of usually 4 to 5 faculty members, and they're going to support you that entire way. So you're not on this capstone journey by yourself. You'll have your main chair who will be your instructor, but you'll also have some extra faculty members along the way as well. This is the only slide I have of this because it is an occasional question that comes up. Sometimes I get some interest for both doctoral programs that we have. So what is the difference between DSW and PhD? You may have already known these differences, or you may have decided that us talking as we've moved along, you kind of know the difference just with this conversation. But DSW, advancing practice within organizations, using data to make informed decisions within organizations and applying foundational research methods. PhD, of course, as mentioned, a little bit heavier with research methods, using data to inform the fields of social work, advancing the fields of social work locally, nationally, and internationally. I think DSWs and PhDs work really well together in some sense because PhDs seem to be really research heavy with finding a lot of information, and then the DSW is kind of that applied practice side of, helping to move along and change those policies. And here's the evidence that says why we need to change these things, just as an example. But this is just a common question I get. So I do have both of these in here. If you're someone who has been debating both programs, I happen to be the manager over both of them. So if you're curious about the PhD and you want to have a different discussion, or if you want to go to that information session separately, definitely feel free to do so. What can you do with a DSW degree? Many of you probably are at this information session because you have an idea of how you would like to pivot or advance yourself or advance your practice. This is not an all-inclusive bubble list here. This is just a few things. So faculty or administrator, policy practitioner, human service administrator, nonprofit administrator, community activist, consulting and training. So again, and this is a very broad kind of scope. This is not all encompassing, but this is just some solid buckets that we find many of our students fall into or already come into, but then just kind of advance themselves in different ways by the time they leave the program. So what does it take to be a successful doctoral student? And a lot of these things on here, you're going to probably feel like, at least this is very simple. Why are we going over this? But it's such a transition when you have your first semester, just naturally, because you all are working professionals, and it's probably going to be a little bit of a shift coming back into that student realm, and making extra time for all of those things as well. You have busy lives, you have things that you're already committed to, and so kind of now is a good time to be thinking of how you might adjust some of those things. What can you take off of your plate? What can you kind of make a short-term sacrifice for the next 3 years while you're in the program? So one thing, now that you're becoming a student again, make sure to ask plenty of questions. Faculty are prepared for you to ask plenty of questions because the doctoral program is going to be a new experience for you. The process of being in academia and kind of knowing graduate level expectations at the doctoral level, like all of that is going to be quite a transition. So depending on your faculty is a good thing. So feel free to ask questions, ask for assistance, communicate with your instructors and program staff. A lot of times I will have students have situations, and sometimes they wait a little bit too long. And what happens during that period is I can have more options for you, or faculty can have more options for you. But then sometimes those options become less and less the longer you wait to kind of let someone know what's going on. And our faculty are really great. They work with our students very immensely and want to support them in every facet. Life does happen, and it may happen while you're in this program, whatever the circumstances may be. But our goal is to support you as much as we can so that we can help you move forward and progress in your degree regardless of what all is going on. So whether that means kind of stepping out and stepping back in, whether that means making other types of adjustments, just communicate with your faculty, and they exude a lot of grace, and they will work with you as best they can. Study success. So kind of what I was saying about preparing for this commitment, making sure that you have a study space, that you're able to establish study hours, and also being mindful as you're moving through the program courses to be thinking about how you can apply some of that coursework or those concepts to your capstone topic as you're moving through the program. That's going to help you a little bit towards the end so you won't feel as overwhelmed or what did I just learn? Like kind of like making sure you're kind of keeping those notes in mind and just kind of, putting some things to the side, thinking about your topic as you go, and how can I apply this particular topic to the assignment that I'm being required to do in this particular class. So kind of having some of those things in mind kind of makes things go a little bit more seamlessly throughout the program. The support success, kind of some basic things, but make sure to take care of yourself. Eat, rest, exercise. Make sure you have a positive support system. So whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's, some sort of community members that you have that are close with you, someone or a group of people that you can kind of turn to, because it is going to be a challenging time. You're giving up a lot of your time. It is a part-time program, but again, you're also a working professional. You have other things going on in life. You have commitments to people, places, things, just different things like that to be thinking of. Also give yourself a lot of grace because it is going to be a transition, like I mentioned. So give yourself grace too to learn the process. It is going to take time, but we're here with you every step of the way. So what to expect during this program. So I'm going to start with the online orientation. We usually do orientation in the summer. We have recently changed it to a hybrid format. So when I say hybrid, it's still online, but you're going to be meeting with some DSW faculty members once a week. So something else I want to make a side note on is that I think we mentioned in your 8-week terms, you will meet with your instructors 2 times usually each term. Those meetings are always on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I mention this because for the online orientation, you will also meet on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you'll meet once each week with DSW faculty during that orientation period, and you'll also have some online asynchronous materials to look at, light assignments, nothing, exaggerated. It's just to kind of get you familiar with Blackboard, which is our platform that we use, get you familiar with what instructors might ask of you. It's not going to be very intense. You do a light little assignment, and then when you meet, you get to talk about it, get some supplemental information, get to meet with your cohort, start creating those relationships, all of that. So we do that purposely to kind of get people in the groove before they just get slammed with that first semester. Expected performance, so doctoral level writing, of course, completing a weekly course load, kind of prepare yourself for 12 to 15 hours per week to set aside. So as you're thinking of your study time and all of that, kind of keep that in mind. And again, you'll participate in about 2 synchronous sessions per 8-week course. And then again, just a reminder to initiate communication if you have some things going on. We want to try and be supportive. Co-curricular offerings. So we do have synergist seminars and capstone DSW Connect sessions. All of these things are kind of encompassing to provide additional professional development activities. A lot of our students, as they're especially ready to graduate, they usually want to have a little bit more experience in some things. So this may be related to interviewing. This may be related to their portfolio. We get a variety of requests. So it's kind of all encompassing depending on what the students want to see, what they feel like they will find beneficial. So we try and survey a little bit. Each group is a little bit different, but we try and have some things that we feel like will benefit you all that you might not be able to fit in the time for in the classroom. So these things we hope that you all attend. Again, anytime we have any sort of session, it's going to be on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. And Dr. Miller, I don't know if you want to add on a little bit of maybe some of the planning for the Synergist seminar.
Yes, thank you. So what we're doing with the Synergist survey sessions is trying to bring all of our students together. So in the past, we had it separated out with year one students as a cohort, year two, year three. However, we recognize and understand that as a year one student, you can benefit and learn from year two and year three students because you will soon be there. And so we want to also to facilitate that type of synergy as well of meeting individuals, establishing relationships, could even informal mentorship from all the students in the DSW program. So you can have kind of like a wraparound perspective of what's to come, but then also support and not just in your cohort. So with our Synergist sessions, that's what we are doing now. It will be a combination of all the students that are in the program. We will engage in some learning, might have a guest speaker to talk to us about what you can do after you have your DSW, you earn that degree. What are, some of the things that they're doing professionally now? We'll be able to engage in some discussion, collaboration with one another. But then towards the end, we will kind of break you into groups, go in a group, a room where you will talk with people that's in the same cohort, same year as you, so you can process what's happening right now. What are some things that we want leadership to know about our experiences? What are some things that we feel like we need as resources and support that is specific to your core cohort? So that's the way it will be structured now. Everyone together, engaging, learning, and growing together, but then an opportunity for you to be with your cohort and talk about any of the experiences that you're having and things that you believe should be shared with us as the administrators.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in regards to the application process, and many of you may have already viewed this process, I know a few of you may have already applied or have started putting in some materials. So candidate requirements to apply, master's GPA of at least a 3.0. We do require that incoming candidates have a completed MSSW or MSW degree from a CSWE accredited program, at least, oh, I forgot to change this, I'm so sorry, at least 2 years of postmaster's degree work experience. I did change it on another slide in the future, so I apologize. It was a miss on my part. So 2 years of postmaster's degree work experience, currently employed in a human service setting, and must possess strong written, oral, and communication skills and analytical ability. The application process, so if you haven't gotten a chance to kind of view our application page or the graduate school's application, you do have an application from the graduate school to complete. And then once you complete that application, and you kind of have a portal more or less where you're going to be uploading different documents and things like that. So these are some of the documents that you will be uploading or that you will be having submitted on your behalf. And I say on your behalf because official college transcripts here from all previous institutions, that should be the institution themselves sending it to our graduate admissions office. If you are a previous U of L student and you've already kind of been here, we can pull your transcript for you. So you'll just want to make sure that you're mentioning what schools that you are in or have had credit for in your application packet. So when the graduate admissions office sees that you've been at U of L, they'll know to pull that for you. Personal statement of goals, and this will have a prompt. So again, be looking at our application page. There's a checklist there. So you don't have to necessarily memorize anything on this slide. I'm just kind of mentioning it for the sake of moving through the process. Your current resume or curriculum vitae, your writing sample. This writing sample will also have a light prompt, and I do have a quick snippet of this prompt in a future slide. So just to give you all an idea of what we're kind of looking for. And then 3 letters of recommendation from those who might be familiar with your work or academic ability. So again, a lot of this we've already reviewed. So for example, the personal statement, I mentioned that there is a prompt. I don't have the full prompt here because it's a little bit lengthy, but having a 2 to 3 page single space statement 12-point font. And again, those prompts are there for you with some additional guidelines. I believe it is to, actually, no, next page. There's going to be some questions for this personal statement prompt. Writing sample will be describe a social problem that is of most concern to you. So there are some guidelines for this paper as well. We do want something that is recent, something that showcases APA style. It kind of lets those on the admissions committee and faculty that are working in the program kind of know where you're at, where you might need support. So that's why we have some of these prompts here. It's not to make anything challenging, but this is a good kind of test for yourself of what you'll be looking forward to. Because when you have your assignments, the expectation will be for them to be in APA style and have, doctoral written format and things like that. So this is kind of just to help prepare as you're applying. Again, MSW degree or MSSW degree from a CSWE accredited institution and 2 years of postmaster's social work experience. Let's see here. So the application process, after you submit your application, it does go to a review. I'm your first reviewer usually because I'm trying to make sure that you have all of your materials in, that you meet the initial requirements to be eligible to apply. If you do not, or for some reason, for example, you don't have the full 2 years postmaster's experience, this, by the way, is a stipulation that will soon be required by CSWE for accreditation with DSW programs. So that's why we have these things, so that way we are fully prepared for that process. And then when we do get accredited, you meet the requirement. So we try and think ahead as we're in these processes. So if for some reason your materials are missing something, I will usually reach out and say, hey, I see that you have this, and this, but we don't have this, or this doesn't quite look right. I try and be a little helpful in that way. After me, it goes to our committee for review. So our committee consists of Dr. Miller and additional DSW faculty. They'll kind of review the processes and review your materials. And then the committee will kind of let me know who all would be a good fit for the program. And hopefully you feel the same way with us to invite for an interview. So then there's an interview process that takes place. It's pretty short. It's about a 30-minute interview or so. And during that interview, it gives you a chance to get to know us, and we also get to know you a little bit better beyond your application packet, because that's important. So after the interviews are complete, that's when the committee will make decisions on extending admissions offers. If you are a candidate who is offered admission, then you have the opportunity to accept that admission, to deny that admission, or to defer that admission. And then, of course, the admission decision technically is up to you at the end. So that's kind of what you can look forward to. The process, since the deadline is March 15th, once we kind of are reviewing applications, I would say towards the end of March is when we start to reach out to folks as far as planning interviews and things like that. So we try and let everyone know, usually by the end of April, like who the cohort will actually be. Sometimes that time gets extended. It just sort of depends on the circumstance and how fast things are moving. But we try and look at everything in a timely manner and get back to you in a timely manner. So that way you can make some decisions for yourself as well. And so this is just a reminder of the deadline, March 15th. So if you're here, you're already very early. And then if you are in the application process or about to be, feel free to ask questions as you're moving through. I'm happy to help as much as I can. Tuition and scholarship, I know sometimes this does come up. At this time, our current program does not have scholarships in this moment. That is something that we are looking for in the future. As far as assistantships, unfortunately, part-time programs don't qualify, so that's why we don't have those. But just being very transparent, so that's why I have this slide. If you're someone who is military affiliated, or active duty rather, you may have a different tuition amount. So talking with financial aid is the best route. There's also different plans and different options that financial aid can provide to you if you are having concerns about how to financially afford this particular degree or program, or maybe you want some form of assistance or a letter template as far as your employer for tuition remission or something like that. So the financial aid office is a really great resource if you have any of those related questions. As far as student support outside of our fantastic faculty and your peers and the professional development and other supplemental activities that we provide, students are also going to receive a subscription to Grammarly. That's automatic. We just ask that you all fill out a light form once you're admitted into the program, and we provide those services for you. Library services, there's also going to be in your orientation a review over literature searches and different library resources that you all can use online, so that way you feel kind of prepared for what the courses are asking you for. Virtual Writing Center. So a lot of these resources we have on campus, but we also want to make sure that you're able to access them online as well. So Virtual Writing Center, it works just the same as if you were to come in. So you schedule your appointment, you can review your draft with them. They do have doctoral graduates to review your work. So just know that that's kind of a plus. You're not getting a student that may not necessarily know the rigor of what your assignment entails. And they can work with students on different things, not just papers, sometimes it's presentations. It really just depends on your needs at that time. Technical help, I think I mentioned that we use Blackboard as our academic platform. You will have a light review over Blackboard in your orientation as well. But if ever things go awry, then we do have some assistance provided from the university. And then same thing with information technology, especially since online programs are very heavy in that. And then if you have any additional questions, this DSW Kent at Louisville.edu, this is our primary service account for this program. And online at Louisville.edu is the online learning team. If there are any questions that the online learning team feels that they want to pull me in on, they will. We have a great online learning team, but I know sometimes little nuanced questions can come up. So they might pull me in for that, or you can always email directly. So this is all that I have as far as this presentation, and I know we covered a lot of ground and a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions in the moment? How many students are accepted? So we are more of a boutique program, and that is why it's so competitive, because we take less students than maybe some of our other residing schools that may be local. We try and take about 15 students. Something changes such as social work history. Well, I guess it depends on how soon it's changing. So, like if you submitted your application and you hadn't quite made it through the interview process or committee review process, you can actually just upload an additional piece of material, upload a new resume, for example. So if you had a resume already there and then you changed positions and you want to update that, then feel free to send an updated resume through your application portal. If you have challenges doing that, I don't know it depends on the stage you're in. So if you have challenges uploading a document, the graduate admissions office is more than happy to do it on your behalf as well.
May I add something, Elise? I'm sorry, before we
Please
go
do.
to Angie's question.
Sure.
So Jonathan, I was reading how you asked about how many students that we normally take. And as Elise said, we are a smaller program, but that is by design because we are a rigorous program. And so we all, the faculty teaching in the program are full-time faculty because we feel like we're trying to prepare the next generation of advanced scholar practitioners. So therefore, we provide a lot of hands-on. We don't want to outsource this to adjuncts, part-time faculty. Not that anything is wrong with part-time faculty, but as you can imagine that when you come to a program, you want to learn from full-time faculty who are doing the work, doing the research. So we are, and I just emphasize, a rigorous program that also, and that's not to scare you off. I'm not saying that to scare you off, but if you're looking for that type of support and growth as a academic, as a scholar, as a practitioner, then this will be a good fit for you because we, again, the full-time faculty will be working with you. We will be given hands-on. Like I said, year 2 is really like mentorship. Yes, you're in courses, but we're intentional about everything that we do. And so year 2 is really setting you on the path to be that independent expert in whatever area that you're wanting to be the expert in. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Thank you for adding on to that, Dr. Miller. Those are great pieces. Angie?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Um, Thank you, Dr. Miller, and thank you, Elise. Great presentation. I had a question related to, I know you did mention CSWE, that you are in the process, and I'm assuming that the degree is aligned to eventually be CSWE accredited.
Yes.
And is there a timeline? I know there's a pilot going on, and I was just curious how far we are into that.
Well, we're currently in the self-study process. That's going to take about a year before we
Mhm.
can technically apply. So, I mean, depends on how that review process goes too. I'm not sure. I would imagine maybe 2 years total. Dr. Miller, I know you're more familiar than me.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. So thank you for the question, Angie. And I know that that is a big thing that you all want to know. And so please know that even before CSWE did the pilot, because the pilot's over now, there's like 5 programs that was part of the pilot that are now accredited. But even before that happened, we were intentional about aligning our program to meet those types of requirements. So as Elise had mentioned. So for us, we're not having to change anything, and do any of that. It's now just writing up. Now that we have the opportunity to apply for, accreditation, it's just writing it up. And so that's what we are in the process of doing. We spent the whole summer, and trust me, I had no summer break. At least knows we were in meetings, trainings, all of that all summer. We're already literally ironing all of that out. So we are prepared to apply for accreditation. And then once we do apply and they, pretty much say okay, and I think we in a strong position. Because trust me when I say I was in some trainings with other universities and some of the things that they were saying, I was like, oh my gosh, y'all gonna have to do a lot of work because they're culminating, for instance, like we have a capstone. It was one school that was like they just have a student turn in a artifact for something that they did in one of their classes, and then that's it. That's your culmination, and you can graduate. Well, that's not going to fly if they are wanting to be accredited. But we've already aligned what we needed to do, and so we're in a really, really great position. And so once we submit our application, our, knock on wood, our target is in the fall of 2026 because we have to also, and we have data to show, but we now also have to write things up. So this year we are actually writing it up. And 2026 will be here before you know it. And once we get to that stage of submitting it, and we will, so if we get accredited, it will be, so the 2026, for instance, whatever cohort will be grandfathered in as an accredited, they graduated when it was accredited. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah, now I can't say the specific date, so I don't want you to think automatically fall 2026, but that if you were admitted in fall 2026, then yes, we're going to be accredited. But I feel very confident about what we're doing and what we're producing. I'm also a site visitor myself, so I do a lot of with accreditation, and I visit other universities, when they're in the process. So, so I feel good about what we're doing. So thank you for asking that question. And I think that again, we're working hard. We're moving. The train is gone. We're working, and we're sleepless nights, but we're getting on it, and we're making sure everything is in place so we are positioned to apply for our for accreditation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it Melisha?
Yes. Good afternoon. This is Melisha. How is everyone doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the information. Um, I think I had just a little follow-up questions. Um, Knowing more about the fact that you guys are a boutique type of program and 15 applicants. I'm a little bit more interested in knowing more about that 30-minute interview process and knowing what type of candidate best meets your program. So if your focus is more on teaching and leadership, are you looking more for students who are already in those type of positions, or what is your typical student profile?
So I'm happy, Elise, I'm happy to take this question, considering that I'm on the admissions committee. So I will, in short, no, you do not have to be someone that's already in a teaching position. We do attract individuals that are in teaching positions, faculty positions at universities. We attract those individuals. We love to have those individuals, but not all of our student demographics are, I would say majority are not faculty somewhere else already. So we're looking for students who are, one, interested in what we offer, which is teaching and leadership. So we want, if you're interested in something clinical, you probably don't want to come here because that's not what we're preparing you to do. And there are some, just being, not being selfish and just being respectful of your time. And when I say you, I'm not specifically saying you, Malaysia, but, prospective students' time and money. If that's what you want, I wouldn't recommend that you want to come to the Kent School because we're not a clinical focused DSW program. However, if you are interested in teaching, and it doesn't even have to be teaching full time, it could be that you want to continue and advance in what you do professionally already and step into a leadership position. And you might want to teach part-time, as the adjunct part-time faculty somewhere. That's a great fit for our program as well. I think it's important that we're looking for students that, again, that are embracing the rigor of an educational experience. And this is no knock to any other program, but we know that there's DSW programs out there that are kind of like mass producing, you know, giving out those degrees, and the rigor's not there. And again, I'm not knocking them, but that's not who we are. We want individuals that really want to, get in there, get some sweat equity and like working hard, developing new skills, willing to stretch themselves, to grow. And those are the individuals that we're looking for. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Miller.
Yeah.
I was just asking in particular as someone, I have a dual master's degree, and of course I have a MSW, but I also have an MBA. So I just want to make sure the program is supporting that leadership, business,
Yes.
clinical mind that I have, and it's in alignment with that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely there's and interesting. So again, when I said that we're already aligned for, very nicely with CSWE accreditation standards, leadership is a big thing that they're asking for schools and programs to demonstrate and show. And we already have that piece already there. And it's just more so, again, writing up all of these things to fit with what they want us to, how we're supposed to submit it. But leadership is a huge component. It's a big component of what we do as well. So we don't make students choose between leadership and teaching. Sometimes that's what they think, like, do I choose a track? Absolutely not. Our focus is on leadership and teaching. So it's to prepare you for both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? And I know it was a lot of information, so please feel free to reach out if you find we get off this call and you're like, oh no, I wish I would have asked this. There will be things that you think of along the way, or even when you're in the application process. So please don't hesitate to reach back out to us. And we're 1 minute shy of time, so I'm fine to give you your 1 minute back, and we greatly appreciate you all coming in and just having some time with us to listen to what we have to offer. And we hope to see your application in the future or see you in the future soon. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.